Hey y'all, it's Kim. So this is page 15, 16, 15. I don't know. This I think is actually page 15, but it's one document from that section that's actually had to do a separate video on it because it's 10 pages. But anyway, there's JFK Files. There's a bunch of handwriting here that's kind of hard to see. Copy detached, Alvin B. Burt or something like that. And then I'm not gonna even try to read this here because anyway, it just doesn't look like I can read it. Anyway, this is from April 9th, 1964. And let's see here. It says Chief Special Affairs Staff, Chief of Station J.M. Wave. We've heard that name come up in this several times. And then it says Typic Operations Special Activities Report on J.M. Wave's relationship with AM Carbon 1, and it has a 201-746-416 action required references. A paragraph 10A Wave 8981 dated 24th of September 1962. B Wave 9169 dated 28th September 1962. C Wave 9343 dated 7th or 2nd of October 1962. And then I guess this is Director 40975 dated 6th of October 1962. And then UFGA 14417 dated 4th of March 1964. Introduction in reference E, J.M. Wave forwarded a review of the nature of its relationship with AM Carbon 2. This review indicates that the relationship with AM Carbon 2 evolved from that action, which was taken in September 1962 to ensure that a security breach could not occur as a result of an investigation which was being carried out by the Identity One relative to the fact that the establishment of the Identity 2 is being kept from the Yo Belt or Wild Belt South Campus as a result of security restrictions, which were in some way related to J.M. Dusk. While the relationship with AM Carbon 2 stemmed from the remedial action which had been taken in a crisis situation, the establishment of a working relationship with the Identity 3 was an objective which J.M. Wave had always hoped to obtain. As a matter of fact, in reference A, the recommendation was made that J.M. Wave be given approval to contact the major South Florida news media in an attempt to work out a relationship with these news media, which would ensure that they did not turn the publicity spotlight on those QBARC activities in South Florida, which might come to their attention. Thus, when a relationship was established with AM Carbon 2, it was carefully cultivated in order that JM Wave might be able to use this contact at the Identity 3 as a means of achieving the objective of having a relationship with the Identity 3, which would simultaneously ensure the security of JM Wave's operations and give JM Wave an outlet into the press, which could be used for surfacing certain select propaganda items. In the period of October to, let's see, well, it cut off. Something here was cut off, but it was continued. In the period of October to December 1962, all of JM Wave's business with the Identity 3 was handled via AM Carbon 2. In mid-December 1962, AM Carbon 2 made the suggestion that he introduce Reutemann, I guess that's how you say it, to AM Carbon 1 in order that there be a backup contact in the event that JM Carbon 2 or AM Carbon 2 were out of town or unavailable at such times as Reutemann might require assistance from the Identity 3. Reutemann agreed to AM Carbon 2's suggestion, and as a result, AM Carbon 2 hosted a luncheon on 12th of December 1962 at the Miami Club in the Hotel Columbus, Miami, Florida. at which AM Carbon 2 introduced AM Carbon 1 to Reutemann. As a result of this initial meeting on probably like 12th of December 1962, an operational relationship has developed with AM Carbon 1, and it is believed that this relationship contributes to the fulfillment of the overall JM Wave mission. In view of this, a special activities report is being submitted to cover the nature of JM Wave's relationship with AM Carbon 1 during the period of December 1962 to March of 1964. Frame of reference for JM Wave's relationship with AM Carbon 1, when AM Carbon 2 introduced AM Carbon 1 to Reutemann, AM Carbon 2 reviewed the ground rules under which he had been cooperating with Reutemann. This review was conducted for AM Carbon 1's benefit in order that he might clearly understand the frame of reference which should prevail in his relationship with Reutemann. In this review, AM Carbon 2 pointed out that it was the policy of the Identity 3 that it would take no action which would purposely embarrass QBARC or its South Florida operations. As a result, if any embarrassing items relative to QBARC's operations in South Florida did come to the attention of the Identity 3, this material should be brought to Reutemann's immediate attention. AM Carbon 2 made it clear to AM Carbon 1 that such items should be discussed with Reutemann in a frank manner. In addition, AM Carbon 2 made the point that after an item was discussed, AM Carbon 1 should follow Reutemann's guidance relative to how any particular embarrassing item might be handled by the Identity 3 so that it would not expose QBARC operations and at the same time would not jeopardize the journalistic reputation of the Identity 3. In addition, AM Carbon 2 pointed out that if AM Carbon 1 brought a potentially embarrassing item to Reutemann's attention and remedial action on the matter was not taken by Reutemann within a reasonable period of time, then the Identity 3 will feel free to expose any ineptness on QBARC's part. AM Carbon 2 pointed out that in return for this cooperation from the Identity 3, Reutemann had agreed that he would be available for contact by telephone or periodic personal meetings at which AM Carbon 1 and AM Carbon 2 could discuss broad trends and developments in Latin American affairs. AM Carbon 2 advised AM Carbon 1 that this arrangement did not mean that AM Carbon 1 could expect to obtain any classified information from Reutemann. The point was also made that AM Carbon 1 should not press for the obtaining of classified information, but he should be alert to steering tips, which Reutemann might furnish him on fast breaking news stories. AM Carbon 1 indicated that he understood the frame of reference, which had been outlined by AM Carbon 2. This frame of reference has prevailed throughout JM Wave's relationship with AM Carbon 1 during the period December 1962 to March 1964. AM Carbon 1's journalistic career. AM Carbon 1 originally started to work for the Identity 3 in 1957 on the city desk and subsequently advanced from this assignment to the assignment which entitled covering major or entailed covering major political developments in Florida. At a later date, AM Carbon 1 became a feature writer for the Identity 3. Then in July or August 1962, AM Carbon 1 was made the Identity 4. This assignment was considered to be a significant promotion for AM Carbon 1, and it reflected confidence in him by the Identity 3 management. AM Carbon 1 is by no means an expert on Latin America, but he is developing his knowledge on the area, and at the moment, he gives every indication of wanting to be a long-term Latin American specialist. QDelf, or QD I don't know, has been questioned about AM Carbon 1, and he has indicated that AM Carbon 1 is regarded in the journalistic trade as an extremely likable fellow who has a keen mind but who lacks experience in the depth on Latin American affairs. It is QD Elf's opinion that given an appropriate lapse of time, AM Carbon 1 will develop into one of the leading Latin American specialists in U.S. journalistic circles. AM Carbon 1 has a working command of Spanish, and he is constantly attempting to improve his language fluency. It is Reutemann's opinion that AM Carbon 1 has developed rapidly as a Latin American specialist, and he will continue to grow in this field. Thus, he is a contact who should be developed and harnessed for exploitation, bearing in mind that he does have long-term potential. AM Carbon 1's contacts and sources, in keeping with the traditional pattern of source protection, which is common to newspapermen, intelligence officers, and law enforcement officers, AM Carbon 1 attempts to guard the true identity of all of his sources. On the other hand, when pressed, AM Carbon 1 has identified some of his sources to Reutemann. In order that meaningful evaluations could be made of that information which AM Carbon 1 had passed to QBAR. As a result of these occasional witting identifications of his sources, and as a result of general conversations with AM Carbon 1, Reutemann has learned that AM Carbon 1's sources include the following: Luis Fernandez Rocha, as Secretary General of the DRE, Manolo Ray Rivero, Chief of JURE, Carlos Todd E. Lobo, I guess, of the defunct Havana Times, Ambidi 1, Aureliano Sanchez Arango, leader of the AAA, Edmund Lehigh of the Washington News Bureau. AM Carbon 1 regards this source as being particularly interesting in view of the fact that Lehigh's daughter is a secretary in the office of Attorney General Robert Kennedy. Frank Fiorini, a freelance pilot and adventurer. Eduardo Suarez Riva, public relations man for the MRR. And Luis Munoz Marin, governor of Puerto Rico. Juan Bosch Gavino, former president of the Dominican Republic. Charles Keeley of the Copley Wire Service. And then Jorge Volsky Chrysler, or George maybe, an employee of USIA in Miami. AM Carbon 1 is well aware of the fact that Volsky is a de facto stringer for the Tad Sulks of the New York Times, but this does not deter AM Carbon 1 from attempting to exploit Volsky as a source of information. Operational support on occasion, AM Carbon 1 is used to carry out certain operational support tasks. In such instances, AM Carbon 1 makes his inquiries or carries out the required action within the context of his normal journalistic activities. The use of AM Carbon 1 for operational support tasks enable JM Wave to harness the investigative facilities of the Identity 3. Several examples of how AM Carbon 1 has been used in operational support tasks are outlined below. Andrew Adorno Camps in March 1963. Andrew Adorno Camps, basically birth 30th September 1914, Gabarro, Cuba. And then I guess it's probably a phone number, arrived in Miami and was given routine CAC processing. The details of this processing are contained in Miami 0085, dated 12th of March 1963. After being released by CAC, Ordonio was interviewed by the Identity 3, and a sensational story was developed. In view of this story, JM Wave tried to locate Ordonio for debriefing. This effect was not productive. Thus, AM Carbon 1 was asked to locate Ordonio. AM Carbon 1 did locate Ordonio in Houston, Texas. See Wave 6307, dated 25th of March 1963 for details. B here. I'm probably going to stop it after this one and then get another one put up, but it says discrediting Carlos Bandon of the MRR Splinter Group in UFGW 2555, dated 13th of September 1963. Headquarters suggested the JM Wave might be able to discredit Carlos Bandon Cruz 201-309-611 of the MRR Splinter Group as a result of Bandon's overinflated claims relative to his faction invading Cuba. Headquarters' interest in discrediting Bandon was also stimulated by the fact that Bandon's irresponsible publicity stunts were causing problems for AMBD1. As a result of headquarters' interest in this matter, Reutemann had a luncheon session with AM Carbon 1 on 24th of September 1963, at which AM Carbon 1 was advised that the Bandon faction of the MRR was less than accurate in its claims relative to its activity in Cuba. In view of this, Reutemann suggested that the Identity 3 might want to soft pedal any future war communiques which the Bandon faction might release. AM Carbon 1 stated that in view of Reutemann's comments, the Identity 3 would not only soft pedal but would ignore the Bandon faction in the future. Once Bandon was discredited with AM Carbon 1, the word was soon leaked by AM Carbon 1 to other newspapermen that Bandon was not a reliable source. As a result of this action, the Bandon Group has received minimal media coverage in South Florida since September of 1963. So I'm going to stop this one here. I'll get the other one loaded up just as soon as possible. Anyway, I'll talk to y'all later. Have a great afternoon. Bye.